So welcome everyone. I'm going to talk today about the future of video, how we can unlock real behavior rather than claimed via consumer behavior. So if we start off just with my story, I want to give you a bit of understanding as why I have the fascination with observational research. It was back in 2008 that John Hochter and I, who co-founded Watch Me Think, went to FT Innovate and saw Dr. Nancy Schneider, who is the head of innovation for the Whirlpool Corporation, stand on stage and talk about how she took her entire board out to people's homes to watch them fill washing machines. And the one thing they observed was that people bent down to fill their washing machines, and when they got back up, they leant on the washing machine and made a little grunting noise. Now, as a result of that insight, in inverted commas, they developed a washing machine that stands on a plinth, so no one had to bend down ever again. And we were stunned by this. We'd been working at Mintel for 14 and 15 years respectively, so this whole observational research was very exciting to us. But we'd also known that by working with big FMCG, CPG companies around the world, they were struggling to get brand managers out to people's homes. So the mere fact you got board members out there was something. So really that combination of how you can bring the consumer into people's homes was a big thing. Now, in terms of the future of video, it is our belief, absolutely, that the future of video may be quite as simple as just showing people that the future is already here. There is a dearth of lack of information, lack of knowledge around the power of video and what can be done already by many of the companies that we're, including ourselves, but also many of the others today, as to what can be done. So there's three core problems that we can identify. Firstly, most people don't realize that video is really easy to create, and I'm talking about for the consumer themselves. The proliferation of smartphones, the capabilities of them, the Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff is just absolutely amazing and getting better all the time. So the support mechanisms there to be able to create video are just growing. And so the ability to get phenomenal insights, if done the right way, is just going from strength to strength. The second problem, people don't realize that video is really easy and pretty cheap to use. And when I talk about using, I'm talking about searching, editing, and sharing. Storages cost next to nothing these days, and it's just getting cheaper and cheaper. The ability to use technical ability, things like search, edit, and share is just growing and growing, and there's many platforms out there that enable that to be done. However, then there's a final problem, which is with so much video out there, there is a vast range in quality. And again, going back to my first point, people aren't aware of all the variations there are. So sometimes a single experience of video means that's the experience they remember and maintain and therefore always recall. The simple fact is that you can get very, very high quality, you can get very, very average quality, it doesn't matter. There's, as with anything in life, there is a vast range in quality. But the world of research is changing, and what I mean by that is there's more data than we've ever had before in the world. But our understanding of people and our empathy of those people has got worse. And what I mean by that is I think we know each other in terms of people like us better than we ever have, because we're in this echo chamber of social media. We have Amazon telling us that people who bought this also bought this, Spotify telling us people that listen to this also listen to this. So it's people like us, we understand better than we ever have, but it's all the other people not like us, that we're really struggling with. And I think that's where there's great opportunities for video to help. I wrote this piece on LinkedIn now for our international non-UK audience. Surrey is just an area of the UK. It was a quote from one of our clients actually, who said consumers aren't just mums from Surrey, and it highlighted the problem that we see with so many companies where just because they're the consumer, they assume they know the consumer. And it's something that is really, really coming through more and more. And research remains still heavily focused on claimed behaviour rather than obsessing more about actual behaviour. And that's where video, I think, can really help and really transform MRX, is in understanding actual behaviour rather than this obsession around claimed behaviour. If we look at some simple, sort of well put about statistics, 8 out of 10 new products fail. Why do 8 out of 10 new products fail? They must have all been researched. So something's going wrong somewhere. There's many examples of this that we need to look at and understand in more depth. But the great thing is, at least the great thing for those of us within the video space, is that it's changing. One of our clients, CMO at a major healthcare organization, said to us in April, in 5 years' time, we want to have ceased relying on claimed data and stopped asking any direct questions to gain insights. Now, if that doesn't make a lot of people wake up, then I don't know what will. That is huge. It's a big change for a lot of organizations, but this organization has made it a strategic goal for their company to cease relying on claimed data. So why actual? Firstly, people aren't sure what they think. I think that's fairly obvious. You can ask people what they think. They'll tell you what they think. They might have changed what they think a few minutes later. It's just one of those things. People say one thing in front of people and think another privately. And there's no better illustration of this than this image here, which is the top 5 descriptions of husbands on, firstly, Facebook, and secondly, on Google. And you can see there's some fairly distinct differences there. Again, saying versus doing, perhaps. Thirdly, it's about visual, not just verbal. Exactly about what people do rather than what just people say. And that's really crucial, I think, to video. Video is a great method for capturing behavior. It's not just a method for capturing, the verbal, what people are saying. So it's so much about what people do rather than what people say. And Bill Bernbach, the great ad guru, it's really the final line here that I want to point out, where he says his language so often camouflages what really motivates him. And I think that sums it up beautifully. And then everybody lies. It's something we believe in quite a lot, as you probably worked out by now, hence the title of this presentation. And we're not accusing everyone of being a liar. They're not doing it deliberately. I think a lot of people don't realise certain things that we do. They do. We might ask a person to recall their behaviour on something, and they might get it wrong. They might think they do things in a certain way. They might get it wrong. That's not being deliberate. They're just recalling it incorrectly. And I think, again, this article from the Times of London sums it up beautifully, where they did a study, and I'll draw your attention to the subheading on the picture. Scientists were baffled when 34% of the 4,500 respondents claimed to be eating less than necessary to stay alive. Now, of course, that could be a number of things, people not understanding what a calorie is, but the fact that 34% of the respondents would be dead if they claimed what they would actually be eating is quite something. Again, not necessarily deliberate, but again, illustrates hopefully the difference between claimed and actual. And then everybody shows the truth. And what we're talking about there is the body, the actions, what people do rather than what people say. Again, seeing how people react with product, or whether that be physical or digital, whatever it may be. So our conclusion across all of this is that capturing actual behavior via great video gives you better insights. And what we're talking about there is more commercially viable insights, things that you can actually action and use within your organization. And great video is achievable if you obsess about both the respondent and quality. And this is something that's really important. I think firstly, real people is something that's, and what I mean by that, I mean, obviously everyone's real, but real people, these aren't professional research respondents. These aren't people that are prepared to give up their evenings for focus groups or let people into their homes for in-home visits and things like that. These are people just recording something that they would already be doing in the moment. So at the time, in the place, with the people who would normally be there. It's really simple, but gets to high quality footage, as well as from a much more diverse and wide range of individuals, rather than sort of those people that will pop over to Slough for the focus group. Also, obsession about quality. I think if you're really going for high quality video, you're looking for people to be briefed on the phone, talk through expectations in terms of what they want, what's to be filmed, exactly making sure they understand the project, how you want the film to be made. Do you want it in landscape or portrait? And then, of course, human transcriptions and translations, which are so important, I think, to any project. Now, there's two core ways I think two core new methodologies that are really relevant to the future of video. But I say the future is already here in that in that effect. The first one here, and I've put in a link that you can use, the Vimeo link across the top of the page. You can go there and watch these if you wish. You can do this now, you can watch it later. But essentially, this first method is really using consumer video to capture behavior. The initial video that the respondent is asked to do is simply asking to capture an occasion from start to finish with no questions whatsoever. So it might be, could you clean the toilet from start to finish? It might be, could you put your makeup on? It might be, could you do some online grocery shopping? It could be, could you prepare a meal? Whatever it is, that's all we ask them to do at that particular stage in this methodology. The second phase is then when you get the respondent themselves to record themselves watching back their own behavior and commenting through what they're doing and why. Now, this might be immediately after the event, it might be a week after, wherever it may be, depends on obviously the project requirements. But then you can see the two videos emerged and you can see people's system one behavior and then their own reaction to it. Another new methodology that is breaking through within video is the ability to capture screen as well as individual. Again, you've got a Vimeo link here if you want to go and have a look at these videos. But the capabilities here are simple. You're seeing the respondent as well as what's happening on their screen at the same time. And this can be laptop, desktop, smartphone, tablet, whatever it may be. But the ability to see emotion as well as what's happening on the screen is really, really interesting. It's fantastic for things like path to purchase work, understanding how people interact with apps, phones, whatever it may be. Really, really fascinating. And again, another reason why video is becoming such a major part of the research mix. There's some really great examples about where this has been used to identify and extract some really large differences between actual and claimed. And I just want to highlight one or two of these. Top left, we did a study on health and wellness. When we did the research study before, in terms of the screener, we asked people a series of different questions, and we got a range of different people answering a range of different elements that we were interested in. This lady here with her son said in the initial survey that she was actively trying to reduce sugar consumption in her house. On the table, when she did the first part of many parts of a video study, was honey and jam on her breakfast table. Now, there may have been much more honey and much more jam before it started, but the point is it's highlighting those differences. Bottom right is probably one of my favorites, where we did a big study for a pet organization testing out a new product that they wanted to get into a new market. We did the study. You could probably say that I'd say 75, maybe 78% of cats didn't eat the food, refused the food on 3 separate occasions. But in the survey we did with the respondents afterwards, over 80% said, as in owners, said they like the product and would definitely buy it. Now, if you're making a commercial decision on whether to launch that product into a market, I think it's pretty important that you understand both those areas and make a judgment call as to what's more likely to be telling the truth than the other. But yeah, a fascinating difference, I think, between actual and claimed behavior. We also did a large study for Mondelez and who have used this methodology extensively. It did a webinar with them just recently, actually, as it happens. And Ashwani said something in that webinar that I think is really, really interesting, which was there were behavioural surprises, especially regarding the moments of consumption and product positioning. It was interesting to realise that we're marketing some products to be eaten a certain way, and consumers were actually eating it in a completely different way. Now, that's Mondelez, category leader in many areas, and they're admitting that they weren't certain, and in fact had got it completely the wrong way around in terms of how people are actually consuming one of their products. It's quite an important thing, but shows the value of identifying actual behavior rather than claimed. So in conclusion, those problems, I think that they're for the video industry, so all of us out there, Living Lens, VoxPop, me, all of us, we need to collectively re-educate clients and agencies in what insight can actually be generated from video, how easy it is to use, how easy it is to achieve quality, all those particular elements that, you know, there's a varying level of knowledge of clients around video based on sort of last used or previous, you know, impressions of it. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago they might have used it, and that's not valid anymore. So I think, you know, to get people to understand the future, you need to get them to understand the present more than anything else. To understand people, it's certainly our belief that we need to understand actual behaviour much more than claimed, because everybody lies. And finally, as an industry, MRX needs to move faster away from tools that don't generate great insight. There's still a lot of tools out there, a lot of stickiness around some very old methodologies that aren't giving the insight that really the insight community deserve and can achieve with those new methods that are out there. So again, I think that presents a great opportunity for MRX as well. And that's everything. Thank you very much.